Hey, welcome back to my channel, guys, and on this series as well. So, today we are going to create the API which allows us to create a new setting for a collection. So, if you remember from our previous video, we created this table where we are saving key value pairs for the settings of a collection, right? So, for example, I would like to pass a post request where it says that the collection ID is 1, the name of the setting is frequency, and its value is 1, right? So we have tests which we will go through, and it will help us understand what code is required to pass that particular test. So I have collection settings create test. Let's quickly open it up and look at what we are doing. So the first test is it creates a new setting entry. That's fine. We created a user because we have a route which is for authenticated users only. So let me quickly show you. I have collection settings inside the middleware auth sanctum. So the URL name is collection/setting. It is running the collection settings controller stored method, and this is the name of the route. So over here, I have a user. I did the user factory create method. The collection I created with the user we just created. And this is my post data. I have the collection ID, the name, and the value. Okay. Now, acting as the user we just created, we are posting a JSON request to the route, which is collection-settings.save. This is the name of the route. It helps us refer them easily. And once that is done, right, we send the post data that we just created. This is the this array has rather 3 keys which we just set up. We have collection ID, we have name, and we have value, like we have in our database. Now, with this request done, obviously we need to get back to a controller and understand what is happening. So as we can see, we are injecting the collection service. So there does exist a service file. We will look into that. Let's open it up and keep it here. What is happening? So we have a store method, we have a request injected, and we are returning a JSON response, some basic type hinting. Now, what has happened is I have a first level of check which sees if the request has the name. And the reason for that is, in my subsequent calls, for example, you see here the notification service, the service which we have opened, it is calling a method which depends on the request name. So even before the validation, to populate a value, right, I need to ensure that the name does exist. Hence, I have this check over here. If I don't get the name right, I am throwing an exception and sending the request back. There's no point executing anything further here. If that is the case, and then I feel the request name required rule can be removed because I have already checked for it. But this is my validation rule. But oh, my bad, sorry. So keys, what are the keys? I'll show you now the service. So I have a notification service which I think I need to refactor because but to give you a context, what happened is I created a new collection setting service and I moved the function or the method which was inside the URL frequency in this service itself because it didn't make sense while I was doing the development of this API. So I moved it over here, and what happened is this continued to be the same. I just refactored the class name. Hold on. So I'll have collection setting service. Okay, I'll do the refactor later. Maybe that will be easier. Okay. But yeah, so this is the service which you're injecting, and first we are getting the get supported notifications. Let's open that up. Over here, I have an array notification channel. I have said that these are the values that I am accepting. I don't want any random key value pair sitting inside the settings table, which I can't process, right? So I have a very fixed whitelisted kind of setting names. So this is the key notification channels, and the value is Zulip that I can expect. Similarly, URL check frequency, I get this. Okay, so far so good. So let's move ahead. Now, where is our test? We have said that the notification channel name is going to be, the setting name will be notification channels, and I want to validate it, right? So what I have done is inside my controller, I first get I get the entire array of this. It's a 2-dimensional array. If you see, right, I can have Zulip, let's say Slack, email, so on and so forth, right? So it is basically a 2-dimensional array where notification channels has more keys. So initially what I did, I just got the keys, because right now the name value is only going to look for these keys of that particular array. If the key doesn't exist, this validation rule will fail, because as you can see, the keys is passed in the rules in validation method, and if it doesn't pass, then we get the appropriate message, right? And then what happens is, let's just say someone sent the key as notification channels. So what I want to do is check if that value coming in the notification channels is any of the three or not. So I have a key set to null. If I pass the key to the same function, I check if the key exists in the data. Okay, and then I send that. So which basically means if I don't pass the key, I get only the notification channels and the URL check frequency. But if I pass the key, I send this array, the second dimension of the data array, which is notification channels keys or the values. Okay, because I'm checking if the key is null. Sorry, if it is not null, then I return data and then the key. Okay, again, here I am making an assumption that the key does exist. If it is not, then it is going to be a problem. Ideally, I should have an set as well, something like and set $data key, something like that. Okay, fair enough. So it can be a bit confusing, but believe me, just try it out and you will understand. This is not a very complicated code. It sounds a little confusing because the same function is being used in two different ways. One where the key is not passed, so I'm getting just these values, and in the second place, because the key is passed, I'm getting these values because this is the key that I'm interested in. Okay, and the rest everything is just checks. Okay, because if the key doesn't exist, if it is null, right, I pass the entire data, and that's where I take the key. All right, so name is validated, and then I do value validation as well, and I'm saying that the possible values for key, the value that I got from here, I need to check for that. Because if someone, let's say if my right now I don't support notification channels anything other than Zulip, right? That's where the code is. So if someone sends Slack, it is going to be a problem for me. So that's the reason I'm validating that as well. And then once the validation is done, right, it's pretty straightforward. Just again, I'm doing a find. I know here we have already done a query, but still, okay, I do a find, I get the collection, I run the collections.settings.create method, and I pass the name and value. The collection ID will automatically get populated, so I do that, and the setting is being returned, and in the test we are checking for that, right? So this is how things are going. This acting, this is the data. I'm asserting that the response which I get from the JSON response that I get have a name which is post value post data.name, value is postdata.value, collection ID is the collection that we have set. And then we have two more validation tests. One where it needs the name field to validate data, because if you see, right, I wanted to do this test where this particular case is being fulfilled. And similarly, the next one is it needs the rest of the fields as well. So the first one, I'm just asserting that the name validation is thrown up, even though the array is empty. And then in the second one, I do pass the name, but I don't pass the value and the collection ID. And I'm asserting that the validation error throws errors for these two fields. And that's all there is, right? This is how the tests are passing, and I got my basic code into place. Right now I have 18 tests, 57 assertions, and this URL, this particular functionality is going to allow me to create settings for individual collections. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.